The Nigerian-American medical doctor in the United States who's become a household name, Dr. Ifakamdu Omalu, who is also a Nigerian. He's helped discover the chronic traumatic encephalopathy, beg your pardon, in American football players. Here's his story.
When I was a boy, heaven was here, and America was here.
The face of the man who would change the course of medicine in American football. Dr. Bennett Ifakamdu Omalu, a Nigerian-American physician, forensic pathologist, and neuropathologist, who was the first to publish findings of chronic traumatic encephalopathy in American football players while working at the Allegheny County Coroner's Office in Pittsburgh.
Repetitive head trauma chokes the brain. The NFL does not.
Dr. Omalu's journey towards discovering the disease is well documented in the movie Concussion.
Tell the truth.
Written and directed by Peter Landsman, it stars Hollywood actor Will Smith as Dr. Bennett Omalu.
If you don't speak for
In the movie, former Pittsburgh Steelers center Mike Webster is found dead in his pickup truck in 2002. Dr. Bennett Omalu handles his autopsy and discovers that he has severe brain damage. He determines that Webster died as a result of the long-term effects of repeated blows to the head, a disorder he calls chronic traumatic encephalopathy. With the help of former Steelers team doctor Julian Bales, fellow neurologist Stephen Dukoski, and county coroner Cyril Wecht, Dr. Omalu publishes a paper on his findings, which is initially dismissed by the NFL. But the doctor continues to discover that 3 other deceased former NFL players had symptoms similar to Webster's. Though he calls the attention of a committee on players' safety to the findings, they do not take him seriously, and he faces considerable pressure to back down from his efforts.
That's nothing. You have no idea how bad this could get. I have to keep going.
They want you to say you made it all up.
If they continue to deny my work, men continue.
But Dr. Omalu did not give up. He is eventually vindicated when former NFL Players Association executive Dave Dawson commits suicide due to growing cognitive problems. He, however, left behind a suicide note in which he admits that Omalu was right.
Who are you? Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
And Concussion is in the cinemas all across Nigeria. Dr. Omalu has become a household name. He joins me now to discuss his journey through to CTE. Dr. Omalu, thank you for joining us on The World today. How does it feel knowing that you have helped change the course of medicine in American football?
Well, this has never been about me. I'd never made it about me. Rather, it was about the players and their families. It was rather about the truth and shedding light on a problem that had gone unrecognized for a long time. So I think we are very excited that the truth has finally set us free, because nothing could be better than the truth. Nothing could be better than light. I think families now know the risks involved and are doing what they could to protect their loved ones and to protect their children.
Let's talk about chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's quite a mouthful. The degenerative disease of the brain that's found in athletes with a history of repetitive brain trauma. That disease had been known to be affecting boxers since the 1920s. Why do you think the other doctors failed to acknowledge its possibility when you brought it up?
Well, before the autopsy in 2002, the autopsy I performed on Mike Webster, September 2002, we knew about dementia pugilistica, or the so-called punch-drunk syndrome, only in boxers. And when you look at the brains of boxers, they would have evidence of damage. But Mike Webster did not have any evidence of damage. His brain appeared normal. His CT scans were normal. His MRIs were normal. So I think over the centuries, physicians missed the disease because on CT scan and MRI, the brain may appear normal. But what I did, the ingenuity involved was that although his brain appeared normal, I still was not satisfied. I kept on digging in search of the truth. Did I know what I was looking for? No, I did not have any idea or clue of what I was looking for. And when I saw the disease in Mike Webster and other cases, I had to give it a name. So I went through the literature. I sought out about 27 descriptive terminologies in the literature. CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, satisfied the criteria I had set for myself. So I gave it the name chronic traumatic encephalopathy with a good acronym, CTE. The propositional value today is that in whatever human activity whereby your head is exposed to repeated blunt force trauma, there is a risk of permanent brain injury, with or without immediate symptoms, with or without a helmet. And sometimes these symptoms of permanent brain injury could manifest up to 40 years later. That is the great propositional value. It does not only apply to boxing, it applies to high impact contact sports, it also applies to domestic violence, it also applies to military veterans. So parents who have the habit of smacking their kids, or spouses who have the habit of hitting their partners on the head, we all need to stop that behavior. It is not brain healthy.
Dr. Omalu, finally, let's talk about the movie Concussion. You've seen it. Did it give a true presentation or representation of your journey?
I've seen it about 13 times. Yes, it's an accurate depiction of my life. I was part of the movie production from the beginning to the end. It's every scene in that movie happened in real life with some degree of dramatization and creative license. So yes, it represented my my story. When my mom saw it, she came out and said, "Oh, Bennett, nobody knew you were suffering this much in America."